People need to find you when they need you. And where do people go for that? They go to Google.
Hey, welcome back to the show. Today, I have a guest with me today, and we're going to be talking about all things marketing related. And I got a guest, Ben Stimler, with One Thing Marketing. Ben, welcome to the show.
Brad, thanks for having me. Pleasure.
Absolutely. So, there's some things that we're definitely going to get into that I want to talk about. We were talking before that we started recording, but before we get into all of that, give us a little 30,000 foot view of who Ben is and why marketing and how you got here.
Sure. Right out of school, not to age myself, but we were just having the digital marketing beginnings. And so I caught some jobs early. I was living in New York City, and I caught some exciting gigs and and did a lot of sales and a lot of business development in New York City for a long time. My wife is a Louisvillian. Met her, we had a kid, ended up coming down to Louisville, and the industry is slightly different here than it was up there, and I have now found myself working with a company that focuses on trades and on home service businesses. So HVAC and plumbing and roofers, electricians, etc. And essentially trying to work with them as best we can to generate more revenue for them. Period. So yeah, I've got a long history working in digital media, doing everything you could possibly imagine from all angles of it, and that is me.
Awesome. Well, I'm glad to have you on the show. I think we're going to have some good discussions here about marketing. In regards to like marketing efforts, because here's here's what when I run across a lot of people, Ben, a lot of contractors, and I say, what kind of marketing are you doing? Like potential clients, and they're like, well, I don't really do any marketing. Like it's all word of mouth. It's all referral based, right? Which I know
Yeah.
you'll agree that referrals are the best type of lead that you can possibly get, but if you want to try and grow any resemblance of a business that's producing lots of money, you need to have some type of engine that's going to produce leads beyond referrals. So, what are some tips or what are some techniques that we can, contractors, home service based professionals can do? Like, what's the basics? Let's start with that. What are some basic things they need to have in place?
Okay. Well, the basics. I think we talked a little bit about how you are in the field, with the right shirt, with the right hat, with the right truck, as much as you can, like presenting that, professionalism in the field. But beyond that, people need to find you when they need you. And where do people go for that? They go to Google. If you wake up in the morning and at 8 o'clock in the morning it's 97 degrees out and your cooling is broken, you're not gonna go to like the Valpak and open it up and look for you're sweating and you're going to Google and you're trying to search for an HVAC repair near me. You're making these kinds of searches. So you need to make sure that your efforts are going to result in being found in an urgent situation. Or there was a big storm and you have roof damage from high winds. You need someone that can come and start to take a look and repair your roof. So again, where do people go for this? This is right now stuff. They go to Google and they do a search, right? Now, once they go from that search, they're going to go to a website, and the website has to look professional. It's got to have the right kind of contact information on it so that it completes this circuit of like, okay, I saw what's on Google. Oh, and by the way, they had good reviews. And that's important for a client to understand that you have a good Google scores and ratings. If it's 2 out of 5, they're probably going to keep scrolling. But when they do make it to the site, then it looks professional. It looks good. There's a phone number right there. They call you. They feel good about the whole situation, and then that turns into dollars and cents for you.
Makes sense. So we got to have a Google presence. We got to collect some reviews. We got to have a website. We got to have the vehicle branding, the wraps. We got to have the uniforms.
Yes, certainly social media is important, but I'm not necessarily talking about like paid ads, but of course you can do that kind of stuff, but having consistency across, various social media channels is a good thing because those are just additional places where people may check you out, people may look at you, or people may even find you. But if they find you on Facebook, they're probably still going to do the Google search, or they're at least going to come to your website.
Yeah, and so my last week's episode that dropped was on social proofing, like why it's important to have a optimized personal Facebook page, not a business page, but even like your personal page if you have one. Can you speak a little bit about just like the idea that people are going to social proof you in some capacity beyond just looking at your website? And obviously this isn't every single client, but there's a high number of people that will go and they want to know what kind of person are you, or who's going to be coming to my house and working. The social proofing aspect of it, what's been your experience with that?
Yeah, no, that's a fair point. That's a good point. And I think, perhaps different people are going to do it for different reasons. But maybe someone who's spending $100,000 on remodeling is going to do it because they're just going to do they're going to cross all their T's and dot all their I's all the way through. So they not only do they want to know that Google reviews are good and that they found you and that's great and you're doing something right and your website looks amazing, but they want to understand who the people are specifically that they're working with because they're spending a lot of money. But also, there could be people that, and get your opinion on this too, but people that are coming into your home that you don't know and you
Hmm.
want to know something about them. And people this day and age, that's the kind of person you are, you can easily find out a lot about them pretty quickly just through what's going on in their social media lives, which, pretty much everyone has a profile of some kind.
Yeah, and I talked in my episode like if you- if you're gonna be if you're gonna put dumb stuff on your on your personal page, then like at least make it private, right? So like your so general public can't come and see all the foolishness that you put on there. There's one particular contractor he's in my Facebook group, and I mean people don't realize this, but I actually go and look at contractors' personal pages, their websites, like if I come across the contractor and let's say they're having problems, like maybe it's just we're on a random Facebook group together, like not even my stuff. I'm just in someone else's contracting group, and somebody's like, "Hey, I'm having trouble in my business. Does anyone have any advice?" I usually will click on their profile and I will go look at their profile. If they have a website listed, I will go to their website. Like I will actually go and social proof them before I even leave a comment. Because if I go to your profile and all I see is a bunch of nonsense and it doesn't look like you're a professional, I'm not going to waste my time even trying to give you advice because it's
Hmm.
just going to go right over your head, right? Versus somebody that I go and I see like, oh, this is a professional who's really trying to do well and he's just struggling. That gives me motivation to want to invest time into that interaction. And that's just me as a business coach. Like your clients, if they're going to spend $100,000, they're going to be doing a lot more than just that. And so the social proofing aspect is important, but even like on your website, do you recommend like having all of their team on a website, like an about us section? Do you recommend that? Do you think it matters or it doesn't matter? What's your opinion on that part of
I think it can be, if you're able to do that, you should do that. I think that's helpful as long as your team isn't 50 people. I
Well,
think
sure. Yeah.
we don't want to, yeah, but if you've got, five, eight guys, gals, let's have them, looking professional and let's have a quick blurb about them. I think there's absolutely benefit to that, 100%. I mean, anything we talk a lot at one thing about, just because it's also technical terms with Google, trust and authority. But
Mhm.
looking at it the other way, like that's building trust and authority with who's coming to look at a client's site to see if they want to work with them.
Yeah, and you mentioned something earlier about consistency, which I think is huge. Like for one, like brand colors and all that. If you have gray shirts with your your screen print logo on there, and then you drive black trucks and you go to your website and it's blue, and your Facebook page has got yellow, like there's just so much confusion. Am I talking to the same company? Like, is this the guy that came out? Because it doesn't
Yeah.
look the same. So having that consistency, would you agree?
Yeah, well, I mean, and the reality is that you're the best of your competition is being consistent, and so if you have goals to compete, you need to do these things. You need to have everyone's got a blue shirt, and your Vans are blue, and the logo's yellow on your shirt, and so is the logo and the number and all the information on the truck or the van. Should be easier things to do, but that's okay. Like it's sometimes the job of a business coach or a marketing company like ours to guide folks to help them along the way, you know, or they're nailing it themselves, and that's great.
Well, I think I've preached about this till I'm blue in the face, but I think with tradesmen in general, the overall arching belief is that as long as I do good work, then my work will speak for itself, and then I'll get a bunch of referrals, and then everything will be great, right? Like I don't have to advertise, I don't need a website. I get all the time, people are like, I've been in construction for 20 years, I don't have a website. It's like, okay, but you established yourself a different way 20 years ago, and then you got to market penetration, and then your reputation took over. And so you can't say someone starting a business today doesn't need a website. Like that doesn't equally go across the board.
No, and you have a whole new generation that's grown up on the internet
Yep.
and social media, and you don't. I mean, you can't sit there and look at me dead in the eye and say I'm just going to remain on referrals because that always worked. You don't want to. You're telling me that you don't want to capture additional market share with people that are 18 and over and or whatever that age is that's going to be spending money with you for the next 50 years. Like, no, you need to understand who they are and where they're going and what they're focused on as well. And they're not used to everything being referral based. So you have to meet your customer where they are too.
I did a video, like a TikTok video recently about, when I started my business in 2009, there was you still had like newspapers. Like you could still run, ads in your local newspaper. That was an effective marketing strategy. Today there are no newspapers really. They don't exist. There's the Thrifty Nickel was one that you could also advertise in back in the day. And so I think a lot of times, especially guys that have been in the game longer than a few years, they want to, like, once they find something that works in regards to like marketing, they just want to like say, check off the box. I never have to think about it again. I just keep doing this one thing forever and it's going to keep producing the same result. I mean, what's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean it's those kind of conversations. When I have those conversations, are difficult conversations because I have to uncover deeper thinking there. It's like, no, you say that you want to grow your revenue from X to Y to Z and X, but how are we really going to do that in a quicker pace if we're not taking advantage of all, people have been taking advantage of digital for decades now. We're biased, right? But, and I'm biased personally because of my personal background work wise. But, this is the way that you need to embrace things. Like you said before, personal referrals and all that is a home run, and it's super important, and it's always going to work. But for growth mode, you need to think you got to get with the program with digital, because it's been around already for a long time.
Oh yeah.
And so there's no kind of avoiding it. There's no dinosauring it. No offense to anyone that's listening and thinking they can just achieve this growth that they want all on. And I think what happens is when you have conversations with clients that want to achieve certain growth and you have this conversation raw and honest with them, they understand this more and more, and they're willing to admit, yeah, we got to try something different.
Yeah, I would agree. I One of the things that I've seen recently, like just in the past several weeks, is people are starting to say, "Hey, is your lead slowing down? Has your phone stopped ringing? What's going on right now in the economy?" And feel the temperature in the room getting hotter. People are starting to get worried about some of their, lead flow and some of their, their business, because they're not, some of these guys are living like lead to lead. I mean, they're like, they get this one lead, they sell it, and another lead comes in right before that job's finished, and they happen to sell that, and they're just, they're not living paycheck to paycheck. They're living lead to lead, and they don't know how to turn this faucet on to get more leads. But
Right.
I don't think people understand is that when you have a down economy, or when things do get slow, you actually have to do more marketing, right, than what you traditionally had to do. And I know a lot of people that started like post COVID, a lot of contractors that I talked to that started, 2020 after COVID, where it was like you could just throw a magnet on your truck and your phone would ring off the hook, right? Like that's not normal. That's not a normal situation. And they got used to that. And so now I see a lot of people that are saying, "Hey, the phone's not ringing." And I go ask them, "Well, what are you doing for marketing?" Well, it's just, I post on Facebook 2 times a week, and, referrals. And I'm like, well, no wonder you don't have any leads.
Right.
Like,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, it can be a tough battle because I think there's false hope, false expectations. I mean, we talked earlier about expectations, but yeah, you've got to be, in the conversations that I have, I really need to make sure that I convey that this is like a long-term investment that you're making in your business.
hey, just a quick time out from the show. If you're a frustrated contractor who's dealing with low profit margins, stuck working on the tools every day, or doing free estimates for people who are never going to hire you in the first place, I invite you to my private contractor community, the Profit Club, where contractors just like you are adding 2 to 3 times more profit each year without producing any more jobs, and finally getting completely off the tools to never do another free estimate again. So if you're ready to increase your profits, stop doing free estimates, and get off the tools, then all you have to do is click the link in the show notes to learn more about the Profit Club and see how it can easily 2 to 3 times the cash in your pocket, give you a proven sales process that will convert more jobs with ease and get you off the tools once and for all. And the best part is you can do all of this without having to produce more jobs than you currently are. Click the link to learn more. Now let's get back to the show.
This is not just a sprint thing. This is a marathon thing. This is, your website's your storefront. You've got to be in front of people at the, talking about the bottom of the funnel stuff. You've got to be in front of people on Google because that's where people are going to really look for this. They really are. And so you've got to be there. You've got to have that social presence that you're talking about, and you've got to build it. And the website that you have has got to really connect all the dots and be designed the right way so that a phone call's right there, or a lead form is right there, and using automation to capture information or to send out emails. Like all that information is being and technology is being utilized as much as you can, as much as you can. Some of that is going to be stuff that, these clients are going to be able to do on their own, but a lot of it is not. And so there's folks like you and myself that are able to help them out with that. And because a lot of this stuff is really in the weeds when it comes to SEO and what are you going to do to on your website to optimize it, and you want to work on your business. You want to go fix the sink. You want to go fix the HVAC, repair the roof. You don't want to have to worry about all these, like your SEO and managing the reputation and the Google scores and how's the website, looking and functioning and updating content on it and all that stuff. So this is the stuff that's replacing just the referrals that's going to give you the more, additional leads. So that's why sometimes it's a good idea to get additional help. But you have to don't, in order to not have sticker shock, you have to understand it's an investment
Sure.
for the
Yeah.
long term.
Well, I mean, just looking at our website, and I don't know, I have no idea what you guys charge, but you can go online. And it could be anywhere from 500 to 50,000, right? So anywhere in between there for a
Hmm.
website. But
Hmm.
if I spend, let's say, $10,000 on a website, and it makes me, $500,000 a year in return, I would say that's a pretty good return on my investment.
Yeah, I mean, generally we try to tell folks like 0 to 5% of what your revenue is a good number to spend on marketing. And a lot of times we get folks that are balking at numbers that are not even at the lower range of that. So I think
Yeah.
there is it's an uphill battle in a lot of ways. But man, the clients that do understand that, they're kicking butt.
Oh yeah. Yeah. It's a return of investment. And a lot of times people see this as an expense. And I tell people all the time, like coaching, websites, marketing, those really aren't expenses. Those really are investments. Now, you could go spend $10,000 on Facebook ads and blow all your money. Like, that's a possibility, right? But like websites and, anything it's going to, if you invest money into something and then it brings you back a bunch of its friends, right? It comes back with a bunch of its friends. That's called an investment. It's not an expense. Now, that doesn't always make it, more affordable. If you got to spend, again, $10,000 on a website or whatever it is, and you don't have $10,000, that doesn't make it easier, but it's still not the same as like, oh, I'm just going to blow $10,000. It's like, no, it's an investment. 3 months, 6 months, a year and a half, like you're going to get a return on that investment at some point.
Right. Even if you have to sort of piecemeal things together, having a website is super key. Having that now, additionally, if then you need to look at multiple SEO strategies, like that's another investment that you need to like look at, that you need to focus on, because just having the website alone doesn't do all the things that you're probably going to want to do if you want to increase your leads a ton. It's really optimizing everything beyond that, and then to bring it to the next level, obviously having like an ongoing marketing strategy to focus on as well. That could include everything from you know taking advice on hanging door knockers or yard signs, to email direct first party data, email marketing campaigns, all that stuff that can really boost you know leads and ROI.
Yeah, absolutely. I think a lot of times with contractors is they look at this stuff as a if or. So it's like if I have a business and I get my truck wrapped, right? Then that's an object. And then it's like, or I can get a website. So it's like get a truck or a website, or get a website or do social media marketing. And a lot of it's like ors, and I tell people all the time, it's not an or, it's an and. It's you get a truck and you get a website and you have Google reviews, and you do social media marketing and you do networking, like. And so when you start adding all of these ands, it can definitely be overwhelming in terms of time that you would have to invest as an owner. And I've talked before about, like, in terms of marketing, if you're just starting out, or if you're not making a ton of money, if you don't have enough money to invest, the only other tool or the only other currency that you have is time. And so, like, you have to invest a bunch of your time doing stuff that you can't pay for. You really want to get to where you can just pay for everything and then have a bunch of free time. And there's definitely a balance there, right? Depending on where you're at in your business and
Yeah.
growth and profitability and all that. But I mean, me personally, I'm trying to buy out as much things as I possibly can because I want more time. I want more time. And I think a lot of younger contractors, they believe or have this belief that there's unlimited time and they can work, 100 hours a week because they have the energy and they feel like it's time is, unlimited. Us older farts are like, pump your brakes. You're going to run out of time. You're going to run out of energy. You need to start looking at where you can really, spend the money wisely to give you the most leverage so that you can have the highest return on your investment.
Yeah. I sometimes wonder what, what it is that can get folks over the hump to make an investment when it may be possible, but there's other notions that they have that they can get away with what you're saying. For example, putting the time in as opposed to that.
In order to date myself, the first website I had, I built with Microsoft Front Page. So you probably know what that is. A lot of guys listening don't know what that is. But that's like an old school, the web development platform.
Yeah.
Was it worth my effort to spend, dozens and dozens and dozens of hours, first of all, learning how to use it, and then second of all, very, very poorly implementing it because I'm not a professional website designer, but I thought I was saving money, to do this on my own. And so I traded, I don't know, 40, 50 hours of my time trying to learn and do this. That is, I mean, you can't even use it anymore. Like it's stupid to even know how to use Microsoft Front Page. So it was a completely wasted effort for me to try and learn how to do this. And I think a lot of people don't understand, like there is actually good and bad websites. Like just because you have a website, I mean, that's better than nothing. Even if it's a terrible looking website, it's better than not having anything. But still, a really good website's going to really make a big difference.
Won't argue there.
Okay. I thought you were going to maybe make a joke about Microsoft Front Page.
I don't know. That was even maybe before my time with in terms of the websites. So that's when I was doing other strange things on the internet with ads, pop up
Yeah.
ads and things like that. Back in my New York days.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I do love technology. My first business, actually, I built computers and did networking. So I actually came from a computer background and technology. So that's one thing that I've always utilized in my business to really give me an advantage over everyone else. And, just having a coaching call right before this, and we're talking about using QR codes for SOPs, like having a QR code on something that your guys can just scan with their camera, and it has a video. It shows them how to do something.
Hmm.
But this is like becoming really popular, and like just in the last year, I've seen two or three other companies pop up that like do QR codes for SOPs, and I was like, I was using QR codes 7 years ago for marketing.
Mm.
I had a QR code on the back of my truck that if you scanned, it would take them to my website.
Mm.
And 90% of the population didn't even know what a QR code was.
No, yeah. What do I do with that? How do I use
Right.
my phone? Does something with that? Like, what do I do? Like,
Yeah. And so, like, being early in technology is going to have its advantages. If you're always late, so like right now, if you're like, oh, I'm going to start collecting Google reviews, because I know you said that it's important. It is, and you should do that. But the company that's already been doing it for 5 years that has 250 reviews and they consistently do it, you're never going to catch up to them. Right. And so, like, you always have to be, I shouldn't say always, you need to be early adopters to any new technology once it, like, right when it starts to take off. Maybe not too early, but right when it starts to take off, you really want to cash in on that trend. Would you agree with that?
well, I mean, that's the best case scenario, obviously. I mean, you can't abandon that because you're later in the game, I
Sure.
don't think. But yes, obviously, earlier to it, the better. That's for sure. And anyone holding on to the concepts of, well, the referrals have worked for that, for 20 years, and that's what I'm sticking to, highly recommend that we talk about digital because it's not the belief, I think, that this is a new thing. This is an old thing by
Yeah.
now. This is an old thing by now. So let's just get some more of those folks up to date. Is really what it's about. And it's no offense to anyone. Like I understand how you're working hard on your business and the referrals have kept you afloat for a long time. But the number of folks that have grown up with internet, social media, making decisions based on that information is dramatically increasing. Just the population shift. So we have to, if we're business owners and we want to continue to grow and make an impact, we have to adapt.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know the hard numbers, but like basically like every decade, the way people buy changes completely. And if you're still implementing, 3-decade old technologies or processes or marketing, you're going to get left behind. I mean, it's just that simple.
Yeah, I mean, we go out to eat now. We don't even like have to, we pay with one of those toast, you know what I'm talking about? One of those handheld devices,
Oh yeah,
or we
the
can
the,
sit
the
down at
ones that sit
certain,
on the table.
yeah, or the sit down at certain restaurants. Like you just click, order my beverage, you can order all your food from there. It's, those are, I mean, that's a different industry, obviously, but
Sure.
that technology has disrupted that industry. So technology comes around and disrupts industry. But, around here, we really feel like this isn't even necessarily a recent disruptor, what we're talking about. This is your website, is your storefront. When people are looking for, I won't use it again, but I guess I will use it again. But when people are looking for the HVAC when it's 97 degrees at 8 in the morning, like they're not looking for, they're not making three calls to people that they don't even know if they're going to be there for the referral.
Right.
Like they may, but those people might not be there, and those companies might not be available, and you might need to go to Google, look for two or three or four companies, place calls to them, look at reviews, look at their website, and make an educated decision based on the information that you're seeing, and make a call and schedule someone to come out.
And if you don't have the website or the Google listing or any of that stuff in place, then you're missing all of those leads.
Correct.
Well, I know we've covered a lot of stuff today, and I know people listening have some good reinforcement of like things they should be doing. If somebody's interested in your services at One Thing Marketing, how can they, get a hold of you? What do you specialize in mainly?
Yeah. Well, you can go to onethingmarketing.net. You can click on strategy session just to have a conversation with me. And then, we're really specializing in everything, from what we've been talking about, from the websites to Google, SEO, building up your rankings, making sure people can find you, to really taking a more in depth look at how you want to grow your business, focusing on your revenue, and from a holistic marketing perspective, like how we can help you do that. Whether it's, email marketing campaigns, or whether it's putting door hangers on, or whatever it is. So we're trying to take a holistic approach, that whole fractionalized CMO marketing approach. But yeah, one thing marketing.net, just click on strategy session, and we can talk more.
Perfect. And we'll put that links in the show notes for anybody who's interested. Ben, one thing I always like to ask everybody is what's a book that you're reading or one that you would recommend?
Well, I actually started flipping through a book that my wife has because she's teaching a course. And maybe this is not what most people might think of, but it's called Emotional Intelligence
Yeah,
2.0. But I think getting all sides of perspectives on everything is helpful in business. So yeah,
I've read that book. It's very interesting. There's a lot of data in that book.
yeah. Well, my wife's a professor, so she likes data. So,
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
but yeah, I think there's interesting information there. So, but
Awesome.
yeah,
Well, thanks so much again for being on the show, Ben. I appreciate it. Your time today.
thank you, Brad. Thank you.
Absolutely. Well, guys, that's the end of the episode. You know where to find me on the social medias. Just search for the Hammer and Grind podcast. Look out for some exciting things I got coming out here in the future. Keep it a little secret for now, a little cliffhanger, but I'll have some exciting news to share here really soon. But until then, just follow along on social media. And until next time, guys, remember profit is not a dirty word.